to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
You're tuning in to the Changing Stage. Our show is powered by the WS Radio Network, and we are your source to be in the know with the music biz. I'm your host, Florentino, and like always, we are in for an amazing show. We have I can't even begin to describe. This man is the most amazing guitarist I've ever heard, and he can play with two hands at the same time, not one doing the notes and the other one strumming, but we're talking about he actually plays two notes at the same time. Mr. Michael Angelo Batio is in the studio. How you doing, Michael?
Hey, Florentino, I'm doing great. Feel good.
Thanks, man, for driving all the way down from L.A., but you've got a really big thing happening today. Let's start off with that.
Yeah. I'm doing a clinic tonight, and it starts at 6:30, and it's power music, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
it's going to be over there at the Guitar Trader, powermusic.com,
Mm-hmm.
over on Claremont Mesa Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
I shop there all the time. We're this is a music show by musicians, for musicians.
Yeah, I was at Guitar Trader several years ago, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you used to live here, right? You just mentioned Coronado. Man, that's my favorite place.
It was nice, yeah.
About when was that?
Avenue G.
Oh, I lived on Avenue G. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's I was engaged to this woman. She was a doctor, but like of Ayurvedic medicine. So she used to work on some of the Navy SEALs. A lot of politicians, and it's great for my fingers, So, but it's real nice.
Well, they can definitely get a workout. So, if you haven't heard Michael, I suggest you go on air. I think everyone has, for the most part. If you love metal, you know you love Michael. In fact, we had some of your fans here, Dave and his buddy. Cool. They were here. Lonnie does a show, who brought his son, who's just an amazing fan. When I mentioned it to Lonnie, he was like, can I bring my son? I was like, of course, So, right. But you are this incredible guitar player. You've been playing obviously since the 80s. You're trying to really kick those things off. Tell me a little bit about your history growing up playing in the 80s with, Guns N' Roses and all those other guys going around. Cause I was actually in LA going to UCLA at the time.
Yeah. I was born in Chicago, but my family's from San Francisco. A lot of my relatives. So we'd go out there, around Christmas time, and San Francisco's not weather like LA, but it'd be 60 degrees, and it's 60 below zero in Chicago. And I always, when I got the opportunity to move out to California after I got out of school, I did. And I came up in the 80s metal scene, and we were passing out flyers on the strip with CC DeVille and Slash, and I ended up getting signed twice, actually. Once early in a band called Holland on Atlantic Records, and we toured with Aerosmith, but we were a really great band, but it was my first introduction to it. It wasn't my band, it was the singer's, Tom Holland. And then I got re-signed with a band called Nitro, and
I remember.
That's the one that records on the charts, MTV videos,
all
and
the craziness ensued. Yeah,
it's great.
It's awesome. Yeah, I remember going to the Truve and going. I don't think the Whiskey had closed down around that time, right? It was closed for a little bit.
Yeah, I played the Whiskey, but I'm more played the Troubadour, and then we would play Guitarist too a lot.
Oh yeah,
Guitarist on the Strip.
Yeah. That's not around anymore. That's
no, it's the Key Club, and then it's not around.
Yeah, those were some great days. And the thing is, you've had a longevity in this business that's just beyond amazing. You hear about those, the people that kind of come and go, but you continue to break records. So you've been voted as the number one guitarist by, I'm trying to remember, not Guitar World.
It was Guitar One magazine.
Guitar One magazine, obviously one of the greatest metal guitarists of all time through Guitar World.
Yeah.
And then now you just did something with Steve Vai, right?
Yeah. I've been very fortunate. I've been on tour. I've toured in 55 countries, and just this year alone, India, China.
I didn't even know there's 55 countries.
I was on. Yeah, I'd like to do another 55. But on May 1st, I did a show with Steve Vai in Poland.
Okay.
And there were over 7,400 guitar players in the audience. There was 10,000 people watching the event. It was Steve, myself, a whole group of Polish musicians, a lot of famous ones, most of them I wasn't familiar with, or Steve wasn't. And we played Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix all together. And the Guinness people were there. We did get the world record. It was like 7,423 or 33. But we all played Hey Joe at the same time. And at the end, I've got a photo on my Facebook page. Everybody raised their guitar and they took a picture from the back of the venue. It was just incredible. And I had some really great compliments from Steve. I didn't, Steve did a version of my double guitar called the Heart Guitar.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of, he was one of the artists I know, Joe Satriani.
Yeah.
I know, but I never really knew Steve that well. And I was just hanging out backstage and he comes in, car comes in, he opens the door and he walks out and he goes, "Hey, Michael." I go, "Hey, Steve." And he goes, "Congratulations." He goes, "I really keep up with your career." He goes, "Anytime I want to be inspired by what a human being can do with a guitar," he goes, "I look to you." And then we were taking selfies. But he's real. I mean, I love the guy. I've always been a fan, but he's really
things
cool.
about him.
Yeah, he's cool.
I know George from your album.
Oh, yeah, George Lynch?
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
A buddy of mine, Noel Deanda, and him do a lot of work. He does computer work for George. And then I had John Christ on the show not too long ago, which is all part of that crew up in L.A. When I used to live up there over in the Valencia area. So I guess they're all still around that area.
Yeah, I've lived all over Southern California, especially when I first started in music. No money, no car, no anything.
Oh yeah. So tell us a bit about that. What was that experience like? You're there, like you said, you're there with Slash or with CeCe, and you guys are passing out flyers. You're just trying to get known.
Well, when I tell people about what it was like, everything you've seen or everything you've read or heard about what the 80s LA scene was, it's not even close to really what it was, because there was no internet. I remember, for example, when I moved to California and from my hometown of Chicago, I just looked like a normal guy. After living in LA and especially in Hollywood for about a year, I went back to Chicago and my parents said, "What happened to you?" I've got tats, jet black hair. I didn't realize I had changed because the scene was LA.
Yeah,
that was it. Everybody, I remember the first band I saw it was in LA. It was Wasp at the Troubadour.
Oh, wow.
And I'm used to seeing local bands in Chicago. All of a sudden, this logo, ignites in flames. Blackie Lawless has got the band members on dog leashes throwing raw meat in the audience. I'm like, "Welcome to California." It was insane. Insane.
Yeah. And it's not like the Troupe was a big, large club. It was big in name, but it wasn't like huge. But they would do these amazing productions back in the 80s where you'd be lucky to even get that in a stadium show nowadays.
Well, the Troubadour is actually the venue that I was, before I got signed, I was approached by this company called Starlix. They did instructional videos.
I remember Starlix, yeah.
And at that time, Tony Iommi had done them, all the biggest guitars. Steve Lukather, they saw me play at the Troubadour, my first show there, and they saw me play my double guitar, and they go, "Man," they said, "we want you to do this." And they said, "Can you teach?" And I said, "I have a degree in music." And they go, "Really?" And so I was one of the artists that got to do that. And then that got me known. And then I went on to Nitro, and I'm still here.
Now, obviously it's not a very common guitar technique, playing a double neck guitar with both hands. Mm-hmm. How did you get inspired to do that?
Well, there was a jazz, he played more than saxophonist, but he was a blind jazz musician that was primarily known for saxophone, named Rahsaan Roland Kirk.
Okay.
And in the Chicago area, there was a local TV station that every weekend they would put on concerts. You would see, one week would be a jazz concert. Next week you might see the Allman Brothers. Next week you might see the Chicago Symphony String Quartet. So I was watching, I was a little kid, and I see this guy. He's blind. And he's ripping on saxophone. And I studied jazz guitar as a kid. And then at the end of the show, he played two saxophones at the same time.
Wow.
And I went, "I'm going to do that." and what I did, though, I'm left-handed.
Yeah.
I'm a right-handed guitarist. That's how I started. I play piano. And all I had to do is figure out the angles. It's like a V shape for anybody in the audience that has never seen the guitar. and I made it truly lefty and truly righty, but it's my encore. I mean, I use one guitar through the show, but it's one heck of an encore.
Well, that's awesome. And you have like a cross guitar where you have like 4 necks.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what you're using to play the other 2 necks. We are internet. So
well, we can only do 2 at a time.
So, I mean, I was watching the videos and I was just blown away. I'd heard your name, and I've heard tunes throughout the years, but the beauty thing is, like you said, the internet is great. We had Music Connection magazine. That was it.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Music and BAM.
And BAM. They're still around for the Bay Area, for those folks in the Bay Area. But, in Music Connection, I think is translated now to the online, but it was an amazing time. Now, we got about a minute left. From there, you actually started doing other things too. You're actually accomplished, article writer. You're a news guy.
Yeah. I wrote for Guitar World magazine. My double guitar 2 years ago got put in the Rock Hall of Fame.
Oh,
so,
wow.
But I tour, I do 100 shows around the world every year. I do about 40 to 50 guitar clinics and the same number of concerts. For example, just a few days ago, I was in Mexico City doing concerts. I'm here in California. Then I leave and fly to Chicago and Detroit to do concerts with my band. So I'm really busy and I never take it for granted. And I never follow the trend. I play the way I want to play and I make no apologies and I don't care what I do the best I can. That's my rule. Play the best I can, play the way I want to play and let the audience decide.
Yeah, playing with soul, that's definitely the case. So we're gonna take a pause for the cause. I guess the music's gonna start in a few minutes, but I want to encourage everybody. I want to kind of get back to it. You're gonna be at the Guitar Center on Claremont Mesa Boulevard.
The Guitar Trader.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a bad one. Sorry, Eric. Guitar Trader, Music Power, and that's a big important one because Guitar Trader really supports everybody.
Yeah.
They're really the local musicians' heart and soul. This is the Changing Stage with Mr. Michael Angelo Batio. My name is Florentino. We'll be back in a few short moments after the break.
Are you an adventurous wine drinker? Would you enjoy trying a bold red with dark fruit and a spicy finish from Hungary? Or an amphora-style Chivi Pinot with layers of complex flavors? Carpathian Wines hand selects extraordinary wines from premier Central European wineries. At CarpathianWines.com, you'll find amazing dry whites, big juicy reds, even the famous Tokaja Azul. Discover award-winning limited production wines from the heart of Central Europe. Find them only at CarpathianWines.com.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
When did men lose their way? Was it Hollywood portraying us as wimps? Is it the daytime serials where we're on our hands and knees begging for affection from women? Is it all the talk shows telling us women want a sensitive guy or a macho man? Well, guy, how does it feel to spend $200 on a couple of dates and never hear from the girl again? Doc Love's The System can change all that. 35 plus years of Doc Love's life has been devoted to a simple question posed to over 10,000 women. Why do you choose to stay with one guy versus another? Doc Love's The System is a realistic approach to dating written just for men. Visit DocLove.com today. That's DocLove.com today for more about The System. It's time to reclaim your manhood. DocLove.com. The System will change your life.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
I always feel like we should be boxing every time I hear our intro. You are back with the Changing Stage, powered by the WS Radio Network, and we have Mr. Michael Angelo Batio here. My name's Florentino, and we are going to talk a little bit more about your amazing career, all the wonderful things you've done. Now, actually, you've got a new album that just came out, right?
Yes.
Intermezzo. It's under your name. It's not under another group, and you're rocking it. And tell us a bit about that project.
Thanks. Well, the term intermezzo in Italian means in between two major things. For example, like if you had a long opera, they would take an intermission, and then the local composer of whatever village or city they were in would write what was called an intermezzo. It was almost, and many times they were more popular than some of the operas. They were almost like the big radio and pop stuff of the day. And so, but for me, it's a life thing where you're in between. The past is, there, and I'm in this in-between part for the future. I had a lot of great guest stars on my album. I have people like George Lynch from Dokken and Lynch Mob. I have Craig Goldie from Dio, Michael Romeo from Symphony X. I have Chris Poland, who played in Megadeth. And then I have some new school guitarists. This guitarist named Guthrie Govan, British guy, absolutely amazing fusion guitar player. I have Jeff Loomis. He's another young 7-string guitar player, Rusty Cooley. And I did one song called 8 Pillars of Steel, where I had myself, I was one of the 8, and 7 guest artists playing solos over the exact, different drums, but the exact same rhythm track. I had George play, then Jeff Loomis, then Craig Goldie, then, Rusty Cooley, then myself, and it just came out fantastic. I was really happy.
That is awesome. Well, you brought one for us, so I'm going to have to tell you all, this is mine. This is mine, my brother. So you guys got to go out and get your own, and you can do that at the Guitar Trader.
And it's, iTunes, and, on my website, Amazon, everywhere.
So, now, you mentioned earlier in the break that this was done a little bit differently than you've done in the past. Because of technology, the way things are, you were able to do this project with all these amazing, talented people without actually sitting in the same studio with them. Tell us about that.
I really am one to embrace technology. I mean, if you don't, you're behind. And I've had my own studio from the early days of, being in LA and recording with analog. I know what it's like to do it live. No punch-ins, no edits. The capability was not there.
Unless you had a razor blade, you could cut that tape.
Exactly. And if you screwed up, forget it.
Oh, man.
So, but the technology now with Pro Tools and other software, I record in my studio. I do all the guitar parts. I have a really nice studio. In fact, Guitar World did a video interview of my studio. They came to my house, and it's right in my house. I can just go downstairs and play. And then what we do is we record drums at another studio because I'm not equipped for that. We mix, master at other studios. And then, for example, George, he was recording with, it was Ray the drummer from Korn, and the King's ex-singer. He's got a new album. George Lynch was recording his record, so he said he could do the solo while he's in the studio. His engineer records it. puts it online. My engineer downloads it, adds it to the track. It's
Wow.
And we did it with everybody like that. I mean, musicians all over the world, submitted tracks, and it was pretty amazing.
That is, and that's the beauty part. Like we were talking about, I've been doing this for a while. I was an engineer and I used to cut tape and stuff like that. And, a lot of the romanticism of doing it with analog, it's still there, but I don't miss it, man.
No, and you know what? You can clean up anything. You can make something bad good.
Yeah.
But I truly think even with all the technology, you can't make good great.
Yeah.
Great is still great. And you might have more CDs out, but I mean, George Lynch sounds like George Lynch, whether it's analog or digital, and I hope I sound the same. But I'm really happy with the album. That's one of the keys, at least for me. I always want to do the best that I can, and I really have to believe in something, and I believe in the album.
I think probably the biggest thing I've heard, I've been interviewing so many incredible talents. We talked about John Christ was here.
Right.
We had Jonathan Butler from the jazz scene. So we've got different people. It always comes back down to this. Soul and passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the biggest thing I've gotten out of your music when I listen to it. Anybody can just wail away. I mean,
that's right. Chops
are chops, but you got to play it with that soul, that commitment to this is your love and this is your baby. And what would you say to the young people now that are coming up in this digital age? They've got all these different things to kind of help them along. Tell them about where that comes from.
I've been very fortunate because I've diversified. I do a lot of different kinds of shows, play with a lot of named musicians, do solo shows. I've really branched out and not just one project. But I think if I had advice for young players, the industry is like this. When I first started off in music, the labels gave the bands money to support albums. Their money was now. The album is put out to support live shows. It's the exact opposite. So I would tell young bands, release videos. YouTube is the new MTV. Put your music out there. Release as much music as you can. Get out and play. You have to promote. I mean, when I was handing out flyers on the strip with CeCe DeVille, we were promoting.
Yeah.
In this day and age, you use Facebook, Twitter, you promote. Really, nothing has changed in that regard. The technology has, but you still,
system,
you still have to go out and do it. But my dad used to say, youth is its own image, and so a young band out there, youth is youth. That's it. They're the cutting edge because they're young, and so all they have to do is get their music out there. And then if it's good enough, people will listen and respond.
Yeah. So now Dave, I just met you. You're one of his inspirations. And, obviously there's been a lot of people inspired by you.
Thanks.
Who were some of your inspirations? You mentioned Randy Rhoads in the break.
Yeah. I like Randy Rhoads. I studied jazz guitar when I was younger. In fact, it's funny because I became a metal guitarist because of the harmonic minor scale that I studied in orchestral music. It was so easily applied to metal. And I remember I used to do, but when I was younger, the first 3 years of guitar was completely jazz. So I would listen to George Benson, Joe Pass.
Okay.
And then my dad, told me about, he liked two artists. He liked B.B. King and Frank Zappa. And I hated them both because he liked them, because my dad liked, but those were some of my favorite guitarists. Al Di Meola. And then when I started listening to rock, it really wasn't Led Zeppelin and all that. It was more bands that weren't as well known, like a band called King Crimson, because they had really great guitar playing. And I always gravitated towards more musicianship, like Steely Dan or Earth, Wind and Fire. And another thing that's changed too, I was talking to a couple other musicians about this. When I was growing up, when you think about radio, you could have Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and the Temptations on a radio station. It could be AOR rock, whatever. But now everything's kind of, you have to kind of be defined.
Yeah, diversity is big.
Yeah. So, and it's, you can find everything out here now, but like sometimes radio stations are jazz or rock or this. So that's another thing with young bands. You have to kind of know who you are, find out who are you. That's one of the big keys.
Now we got about 40 seconds left. Your gear, you tell us about your gear.
Well, I use Dean guitars exclusively. In fact, the bass player on one of my songs, 8 Pillars of Steel on Intermezzo, is the owner of Dean Guitars.
Oh, wow.
He is not only the owner of Dean Guitars, D-Drums, and other D-Drum, another music company, he's a great bass player. So, like you said, the passion starts from the top down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I've loved Dean guitars ever since I was a kid. I mean, my first double was a Dean, my first double guitar. So it's what I really use. Dunlap Jazz 3s, amps. I still like Marshall.
Okay.
You know, there's other amps I like, but really for me, it's Dean guitars, Dunlap Jazz 3s.
Well, you're going to be at Guitar Trader Music Power tonight at 6:30 on Claremont Mesa Boulevard. Thanks, man. I got to have you back. Mr. Angelo Batio, amazing guitarist. You got to check him out. My name's Florentino. This is the Changing Stage Radio Show powered by the WS Radio Network. We will see you again next week. We're actually going to be playing this again, too, this Saturday, and then tune in for the archives. Thanks again, folks, for listening in.
Progressive Medical.
Hey, this is Heidi Rue, and you know, Progressive Medical Center has literally changed my life and my health, but I'm not the only one. Adele suffered from bone deterioration, bone overgrowth, profound muscle discomfort, physical exhaustion, and mental fog. In fact, the bone deterioration becomes so serious that she had to have back surgery. Well, after the surgery, she still didn't feel well, and so that's when she heard about Progressive Medical Center. Progressive Medical Center discovered that her adrenals weren't working properly, her hormones were out of whack, and the drugs she had been taking were doing more harm than good. Adele came into Progressive Medical Center in a walker, physically and mentally exhausted. But now she's a world traveler. She hikes and walks several miles a day, and it's all thanks to Progressive Medical Center. 770-676-6000. 770-676-6000.
Progressive Medical. This is your life. Live it well.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind. Connected World Magazine is dedicated to reporting on the next generation of M2M and connected devices. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Written for the fast-paced, device-enthused individual or business, Connected World Magazine provides unique insight and analysis to all things connected. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Connected World. Living the connected life has never been easier.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Hi, this is Felix Taberna, host of Race and Sports Radio. Join our cast and crew every Saturday and Sunday right here at WSRadio.com, beginning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Race and Sports Radio.